Ayadam Adhav Punjabi Raj Ayadijana Bhagava Vivarita Ji Ayadijana Bhagava Vivarita Ji Dasho Buddha Prajagana Yashoda Sandana Prajagana Sandana Yamuna Tira Manajari Yamuna Tira Manajari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Ram Vishnupada Pramsar Prajakacharya Shweta Shata Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ram Vishnupada Pramsar Prajakacharya Shweta Shata Srimad, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Bhaktivinoda Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9, titled Appearance of the Demon Vritasura, text number 51. Magavanyata Bajram Vo Dyansham Rishi Satamam Vidyavrata Tapasanam Vacham Yachatamachiram Magavanyata Bajram Vo Dyansham Rishi Satamam Vidyavrata Tapasaram Vacham Yachatamachiram Madhavanyata Bajramvo Dadyansham Rishi Satatam Vidyavrata Tapasaram Vajram Yachatamachiram. Word for word. Maghavan, O Indra. Yata, go. Vajram, good fortune. Va, to all of you. Dadyansham, to Dadyansha. Rishi Satamam, the most exalted saintly person. Vidya, of education. Vrata, vow. Tapa, and austerities. Saram, the essence. Gatram, his body. Yachata, ask for. Machiram, without delay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Magavan, Indra, all good fortune unto you. I advise you to approach the exalted saint Gadyansha Radichi. He has become very accomplished in knowledge, vows, and austerities, and his body is very strong. Go ask him for his body without delay. Purport. Everyone in the material world, from Lord Brahma down to the anteater, is eager to keep his body comfortable. A pure devotee may also be comfortable, but he is not eager for such benediction. Since Maghavan, the king of heaven, still aspired for a comfortable bodily situation, Lord Vishnu advised him to ask Gadansha for his body, which was very strong due to his knowledge, vows, and austerity. Om Agyanathermandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshmatayana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are continuing with Lord Vishnu's answer to the prayers of the demigods about how to deal with the Vritasura situation. Uh, let's say the Vritasura crisis, and that's uh, this person in a demoniac sort of body was summoned by Yagya in order to give trouble to the demigods, in order to defeat Indra, uh, who is, of course, the king of the demigods. So, in essence, to defeat the demigods as a whole. And, uh, of course, it was very difficult to do battle with Vritasura. So the demigods approached Lord Vishnu in order to ask, as we have been reading, how to defeat Vritasura. And now Lord Vishnu is responding that they should approach Dadichi and take his body and fashion a weapon out of his bones, a specific type of thunderbolt, which is, of course, the weapon of uh, Indra. And when they have done so, that weapon will be powerful enough to defeat Vritasura. And the point that uh, Vishnu is making here is that Dadichi's body is very strong and that he has become very accomplished due to his knowledge, vows, and austerities. Practically speaking, anything that we wish to accomplish in this world has these three components. Any sort of directed behavior requires knowledge, vows, and austerities. The vow, in a certain sense, even if it's not a vrata in the sense that one vows, before the deities or some other uh, worshipable person uh, to do something. In order to accomplish anything, one has to set an intention. I will achieve these things. Uh, and then, of course, it requires knowledge. No matter what one is trying to achieve, either spiritually or materially, one has to know the way to do it. If one, uh, for example, wanted to uh, build a very strong body, with lots of muscles and the ability to lift, uh, so many pounds, but one had no knowledge of the science of exercise, then it would be very difficult. Or if one wishes to build a factory, to make some sort of device, but one had, no knowledge of architecture or engineering or any other such knowledge, it would be impossible to do, no matter how mm, strong one's determination was. And then, of course, there's the austerity of actually doing it. In the sense that one must give up some other enjoyable thing in order to reach one's goal. The modern economists call this opportunity cost. Uh, and of course, there are so many other austerities that one can take on. So, for all sorts of activities, one requires vows, knowledge, and austerities. And Lord Vishnu is saying that due to these things, Adichi's body has become very strong. The uh, focus today or the focus during modern times, uh, if one wishes to make the body strong, is on various exercises, uh, some sort of nutrition that isn't always necessarily nutritious. If one gets into supplementation or macronutrients, uh, or some sort of uh, one sometimes those who are interested in making the body very strong, bodybuilders or power lifters or people like that, take some sorts of either legal or illegal substances to do so. But actually, uh, kind of implied here, or one can read out from here, is that the body becomes strong uh, due to purity. Uh, Actually, the kind of one's entire existence, body, mind, etc., become strong due to the purity of one's lifestyle. Of course, we are in Kali Yuga, so purity is very rare to find these days. I was actually, thinking earlier, the thought came while I was chanting that, uh, originally plastics were designed, to be, of course, very durable in the sense that the positive of them, as far as use cases, was that they would never break down. Of course, the downside, as we are now realizing today, is that they never break down. And you can find microplastics uh, everywhere. And if you've been heard before, that when they got some life from Mariana's Trench, which is of course the deepest place on Earth, they did whatever analysis on them, and they found microplastics even in their bodies. And then, of course, with the whole mm, food situation in modern society, uh, the crops are sprayed with so many pesticides and other things, preservatives. And then when they are processed into what is sold in the stores, they still add so many artificial things to it. So it's very difficult to live a pure life, even just from a bodily standpoint. in the age of Kali. And then, of course, when one gets into the more subtle or mental standpoints, it can in many ways be even more difficult to live a uh, pure life in that way than it is on the physical level, thanks to the influence and power of the internet, which, in well, so in most cases, especially the various social media platforms, is designed to drive engagement, which they have certain ways of measuring. And uh, what tends to drive engagement is very extreme emotions. Anybody who has, done creative things, writing or film or anything like that, knows that it is emotions that get people hooked into your stories. And that kind of truth or that reality has been taken up by the various social media companies algorithmically, in a sense that uh, the algorithms on YouTube or Instagram or any of these other websites push one towards more extreme uh, emotions, and usually negative ones. I remember hearing this story where there was this, I don't know, Instagram story or YouTube short, one of those, or TikTok or something like that, something that was one of these forms of content that are under 1 minute, and it was somebody posting about something that their husband because some people feel the need to share every aspect of their personal life on the internet. And, uh, some fight they were having or something. And when this woman looked in the comments, uh, all of the comments that she saw were agreeing with the woman in the video and saying, like, oh, the husband is just being unreasonable. But when her husband looked at the comments, all of the comments were agreeing with the man in the video. Of course, this was to drive anger. That's just one example. Anybody who has spent a considerable amount of time on any sort of social media might recognize that it is designed to push certain things, whether consciously or just by the natural conclusions, let's say, of the algorithms that are set in place. Actually, there was a study done on this where the uh, researchers made two fresh YouTube accounts. So no previous search history, cookies, or anything like that. And they uh, set on on a they started with a fairly moderate left-wing video, it's like center left, and another one on a fairly moderate right-wing video, and then just let it play the recommended follow-up videos. And the result was that both sides, or both videos, recommendations got more and more extreme. And then, of course, I was just kind of talking about political and societal things, or like, I guess, cultural things, let's say. But in very, very many ways, these forms of media are very contaminating as far as they induce us to think about certain things, to not think about other things, and what is actually important, what is actually unimportant, and so many other things. So this is another way that the age of Kali makes it extremely difficult to be pure. That actually the entire age is set up to be predominant in the mode of ignorance, which will keep us very degraded and very impure. So we have to take on um, the process of Krishna consciousness in one way or another. I was speaking earlier that all sorts of endeavor requires knowledge, vows, and austerities. So it is not a question of avoiding these things. Whatever uh, path one takes in life, one has to uh, take on these various things. Even if one tries to do nothing, just lays about uh, and just, lie there. Of course, one will quickly become very mentally agitated because we are made to be active. We are by nature active beings. So we cannot just sit in one place and do nothing for very long. But even if one does, uh, one will not be able to maintain a shelter. In the modern day, of course, one requires rent or mortgage or uh, property taxes, things like that. But even without those things, one, even if just somebody has some hut or house that they don't have to pay any of these things to, one will, require warmth, uh, food, etc. And those will take austerities to get. And if one, of course, just doesn't want to do anything, one might be evicted and end up in homelessness, possibly, which is, of course, also a very austere position, even just dealing with the various changes in weather, being rained on, being cold or warm. So, even if one is wanting to do nothing, one still has to take on austerities. And then, of course, in the modes of passion and goodness as well, one takes on so many austerities. One can probably find biography after biography of somebody who, uh, is a CEO of some. big company and read about the various austerities that they went through to grow their business into what it is today. And then, of course, even for education, things like that, one must take on austerity. So if one always must take on austerity as well as vows and knowledge, the question then becomes, what is the uh, best austerity to take on? What is the austerity that will get us the most bang for our buck, so to speak? And the answer would be that which aligns with our essential nature, which is, of course, to be servants of Krishna. We are, by nature, part and parcel of Krishna, but Krishna is, of course, the infinite, while we are the finite. And it is our dharma to serve him, to try to make arrangements for Krishna's enjoyment. And just like with everything, when a thing is engaged in its proper use and its proper position, that is the kind of most expedient or most natural way to use it, or the one with the less inconveniences or difficulties. So one should apply this austerity performing propensity or necessity, rather, to the process of Krishna consciousness. And in doing so, as is alluded to, one will make advancements in various different ways. As Didichi did. And the pure devotee is not very concerned, actually, with the discomforts that come with these austerities. Prabhupada makes the point in the purport that in material life, everybody from Lord Brahma down to the ant uh, is eager to keep his body comfortable. So that's kind of implying that the austerities taken in material life are due to necessity. One would rather not take them on, but because of some goal, some desire that one has, one takes them on anyway. The pure devotee, on the other hand, is simply focused on serving Krishna and does not care so much for the comfort or discomfort that comes with that. The only consideration is, does this please Krishna? And so the devotee, the pure devotee, is very happy to take on austerities. We read in the first canto, the prayers of Queen Kunti, that she is asking for all of the calamities to come again and again. Because at least when the calamities were there, then Krishna was there, always saving the Pandavas from the various difficulties that they found themselves in. So she was thinking, these austerities, these difficulties, let me see Krishna. So let them come again and again without caring for uh, my own comfort. Of course, this is the standard of a pure devotee, but we should also try as much as possible to take on this attitude of let me perform austerities, let me take on some discomfort for the service of Krishna. Because we will be taking on discomfort in any case. So we might as well take on the um, austerities that will purify us and give us the ability to purify others as well. Because that is, what is needed in the material world in general, and especially in the age of Kali Yuga. Because, as I was saying, that impurities are everywhere, from top to bottom in the age of Kali. Uh, that we need some sort of purificatory process, which is, of course, Krishna consciousness, which cleanses not just the impure body and impure mind, but all the way to the contaminated consciousness that pervades the entirety of the material world. And we can be purified of this and go back to the spiritual world in order to uh, serve Krishna there, or even to stay in the material world and serve Krishna purely there. Because for the pure devotee, uh, there's no difference. One simply goes to where the service is. And then, even on a material platform or seemingly material platform, we should also think about uh, how to live a pure life, even just how to mm, satisfy our material necessities for those of us who are not pure devotees. And of course, this is part of the reason why Prabhupada established his farm projects, his Varnashram projects, in order to show actually a uh, pure way of life that is in accordance with nature and with the will of the Supreme, so that one can actually have even just real food that hasn't been uh, contaminated with all sorts of other additives or hasn't traveled halfway across the world and been spray painted or anything like that. That one can just simply, have real food that has been, grown from the ground on the property or close by within the community, and just have a healthy body in that way. And then also, of course, the more cultural aspects, which helps to purify the mind and to, how should we say, actually help one be satisfied in how one is living one's life. Because ultimately, the push of modern civilization, for various reasons, from political motives, profit motives, etc., push dissatisfaction. More or less, the entire culture is based on people being dissatisfied. So, if we can actually show people a way of life that is satisfying on every level, the physical level, uh, mental, communal, and ultimately, of course, a spiritual level, then not only is it good for us, but we can actually help people to relieve their suffering and ultimately come to Krishna. So I think I have said enough. I feel the class was a bit all over the place, but hopefully people got things. We have about 15-ish minutes. If there are any comments, questions, additions, subtractions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hi, Bol Tarka Prabhu.
I want to thank you for an engaging and interesting class. Um,
Thank you.
Sparked a lot of thoughts for me, a lot of things to think about. Thinking a lot about different statements that I've heard from Srila Prabhupada. Um, yeah, this issue of purity
Mm,
in material world is it's a dilemma. We can um, spiritual purity is attainable. That's not necessarily easy, but
right.
at least it's attainable. Um, Material purity is a more difficult proposition, as you pointed out. There contamination is everywhere, um, and the material nature, part of the nature of the material world is that it is um, it's actually inhospitable. It's not. It was never intended to be a perfect environment for the living entity. It's designed, engineered to provide impetus to get out, and so there's all kinds of imperfection built in. I once had a physician point out to me the fact that there is in this world virtually everything is toxic.
Mm,
There's nothing that is not toxic. It's just a question of the level of toxicity. Water is toxic, oxygen is toxic, but only in very high concentrations.
right.
Uh, but every virtually every material element has a level of toxicity. For some, it's very low, and for others, it's very high.
Hmm.
Anyway, everything is toxic, and I I noticed a report recently that um, in the course of doing some very deep drilling into the earth, prospecting for oil, and studying samples of the material brought from the bottom of this bore, they found, and this is rock that is millions of years old. They found microplastics,
Hmm. Huh.
and uh, the, this is obviously not man-made, but it evidently is a natural byproduct of um, activities that are taking place within the earth,
Hmm.
um, particularly where there is oil present. Um, Plastics are actually a byproduct of the refinement of crude oil.
Hmm.
Um, and so it appears as though through natural processes, plastics are being produced within the earth.
Huh.
Extraordinary, I thought, but anyway,
Yeah.
um, impurity. Other types of impurity that we encounter, of course, as you importantly pointed out, this problem of social media and our easy access to all kinds of association through tiny devices, handheld
Hmm.
devices, enables us to even inadvertently wind up taking all kinds of asat sangha, the wrong kind of association, and it's insidious because the effect of that association is often imperceptible. You can't feel it, you can't see it, but the effect is there nonetheless, and the effect may endure actually for lifetimes.
Yeah.
So quite dangerous. Um, Rupa Goswami, of course, cautions us against asat sangha. That it is one of, in Upadeshamrita, it's described as one of the impediments to bhakti. Um, and it's discussed in many places. You'll find it in Chaitanya Charitamrita and all over Srimad Bhagavatam. Um, uh, the Jana Sangha or Asat Sangha
Hmm.
is extremely dangerous. It will destroy bhakti, and set you up for all kinds of calamity in your life,
Yeah.
because um, it sets up a progression of cause and effect, and you wind up engaged in all kinds of sinful activities, and one reaction leads to another action and reaction, and it just goes on and on. Very, very serious. Um, there's Let me see. For example, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have oh goodness, struggling with my computer here. These devices are, I don't know, I have a bad relationship with these devices. So
Hmm.
there is, what is that? Madhya 22. Asat Sangatyaga e Vaishnava Achar, Sri Sangi Ega Asadhu Krishna Bhakta R. That for a Vaishnava, the standard behavior is to avoid the association of ordinary people not interested in Krishna bhakti. Such common people are first, those who are too materially attached, especially to women, and second, people who are not at all devotees of Krishna. Vaishnavas should avoid the company of these two kinds of people. Um, and I'll tell you a story about a devotee I know who was attached to a certain type of mundane music,
Hmm.
and became a musician himself, not necessarily very accomplished, but he just had this attachment to a certain type of music, which in my opinion was quite demonic, and I advise them that, this is not a good thing. By just by hearing this music, you're actually taking the association of people who are they're not devotees. They're worse than that. They're demonic, and you're going to assume these qualities. Anyway, long story short, he became victimized by Maya, and despite struggling for Krishna consciousness, he gradually became victimized in horrible ways. The long-ranging repercussions were severe.
Mm,
Destroyed his family life, and his wife wants a divorce, and there's just all kinds of hell is just raining down on this poor man. And as far as I can see, it all really began with kind of unrestricted um, association with non-devotees through music.
mm,
Um, so that's one way in which that contamination can affect us. It, we wind up associating with non-devotees through all different kinds of means. And social media is one. Even music is another. And even sometimes just hearing or reading the news can have that same effect. So it behooves devotees to exercise extreme caution, to be very, very careful, because the effects can be very, very damaging, extremely damaging. It can really spoil your spiritual life for lifetimes. The potential for harm is immense. So it's a really important point. Um, there are many other statements in Shastra about this. Srila Prabhupada mentions in, I believe it's the third canto. Yeah, the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he talks about how, what is that, in the 31st chapter of the third canto. There's one verse, Satyam Shocham Daya Monam Buddhi Hirir Hashat Shamam. Uh, Shamo Damo Bagascheti Tat Sangad Yati Sakshayam. He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. These are some of the sorts of conditions that befall someone who takes asat sangha. In a subsequent text, um, it translates as follows: and this will be familiar to everyone, I'm sure. The infatuation and bondage which accrue to a man from attachment to any other object is not as complete as that resulting from attachment to a woman or to the fellowship of men who are fond of women. And so, that's everywhere.
mm,
Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that attachment to women is so contaminating that one becomes attached to the condition of material life, not only by the association of women, but by the contaminated association of persons who are attached to women.
mm,
So very, very insidious, but it's everywhere. And so very important to try to avoid these elements as far as possible, but very difficult to avoid. Srila Prabhupada's advice to us, because we are preachers, we have to interact with society at large. But he explained that we have the association of Lord Chaitanya when we are engaged in preaching, and we are inoculated against the adverse effects of the bad association, so long as we are actually preaching. So the idea is we want to give our association to others, but not take their association. Um, anyway, that was one thought that I had in my mind, and I don't want to hog all the time here, but there was one other. Maybe I shouldn't do this because it's not that short, but you were mentioning the fact that there is austerity involved in pretty much everything that you want to accomplish, and that includes, of course, Krishna consciousness. Um, sometimes devotees would complain to Srila Prabhupada about this, that they were finding Krishna consciousness to be hard. Srila Prabhupada would argue that it's actually easy. Even a child can honor prasad and chant Hare Krishna and dance. Um, gosh, other people have got their hand up. I should probably just stop. But there's a in
Mm.
Hayagriva Hayagriva Maharaj, actually, he took sannyas on his deathbed. Hayagriva Maharaj wrote a couple of books that are wonderful. Lots of wonderful narrations of Srila Prabhupada's pastimes. And in one of those books entitled Vrindavan Days, there is a wonderful um, conversation between him and Srila Prabhupada in which he's talking about the difficulty that he was having to follow the regulative principles. And Srila Prabhupada was explaining that he said, if you chant, the rules are easy. They're only difficult because you stop chanting. Therefore, in the beginning, I suggested that you chant 64 rounds daily, but you complained that it was too much. So I said, all right, 16 then. And now you complain that the rules are too difficult.
Mm.
Uh, so he says that, well, my problem is my mind, and, the mind wanders and this and that. And Srila Prabhupada talks about, beating the mind with a shoe every morning and so on. Um, anyway, he gives a whole bunch of wonderful advice there. But as the obstacles that we encounter, Srila Prabhupada mentioned in a letter to Krishnadas, he says, you mentioned that your pathway has become filled with stumbling blocks, but there are no stumbling blocks. I can kick out all those stumbling blocks immediately, provided you accept my guidance. With one stroke of my kick, I can kick out all stumbling blocks.
Mm.
That was 1972. He wrote that letter to Krishnadas. Um, anyway, I've got more, but I'm going to shut up and let others have a chance.
Uh,
Thank you again for your class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for your comments, as always. Uh, Jocelyn, I saw that your hand was up and then down.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. All
Hare
glories to
Krishna.
God. So
Oh,
I wanted to say, you were talking about, the forms of media that are really, contaminated, and
mm,
how, they have a tendency to, make us consider, like what to think of, and, in terms of what's important and what's not important.
yeah.
And I just wanted to say that in terms of the media of Kala Swarup, thank you for reminding us of, what's important and what's not important. And
Thank you.
also that, it's very important that in whatever we do, particularly on this path of, spiritual endeavor, that, it takes knowledge, vows, commitment, and austerity. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that reminder this morning. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay. Door should be opening soon, but if there are any last minute comments, okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki